Jim from Partner Engineering at Unstoppable Domains, and today I'm going to be walking you through a few of our integrations. So first up is resolution. What is it? Resolution is what takes a domain name and converts it to a wallet address. So something like 0xjimbob.nft, and it turns it into your typical wallet address, in this case an Ethereum one, but it could be any of the addresses that a user has set for their domain. Where you typically see this are wallets in the kind of send crypto page. You'll see this in various types of applications that have some sort of search for an address. You can substitute in a domain instead. And you see this in a lot of portfolio management apps. So we have a couple examples here to show. First up, we'll show Shapeshift. So in Shapeshift, if you're connected with your wallet, if you want to send some assets, let's say some Ethereum, I can go ahead and I could send this. I could, of course, type in a wallet address, but if I type in one of my NFT domains and go next, what you'll see is it's resolved the wallet address. So here I'm just able to type in that human readable name and it converts to a wallet. Another interesting use case is CoinStats. So CoinStats is a portfolio management app. What you can typically do is just add in a whole bunch of your addresses, your Solana, your Bitcoin, your Doge, your Ethereum. But what you can do with Unstoppable Domain is just enter in that one domain and it'll pull in all of the wallets you have set with that. So for example, if I go to add it in here, I go to Unstoppable Domains. Here I'll type in that same one I just used before. It's jimbob.nft. And what you'll see is it takes a minute here for this to all load in. They're querying the blockchain, pulling in all the addresses. And as you can see, just like that, I now have some of the addresses I have set in here. So I have some Polygon, some Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana in this particular domain. So going back to our integrations, next up is reverse resolution. This is exactly the opposite. This takes a wallet address and converts it to a domain name. Where you typically see this are things like in transaction histories. You see this in like block explorers, and you see this really frequently in leaderboards or even on the wallet connection page. So if I look at a few examples, there is of course Bronze the Doge, which is a site used to send donations into Bronze the Doge. Here you can see there's reverse resolution on here, so we can see people who've donated with their Unstoppable domain. Another example is Relation Labs. So what I can do with this, if I go back home, I can type in a wallet address, and if it has a domain reverse resolved with it, you'll see it pop up. So here I just type in my wallet address, and of course now you see one of my domains resolved with it. So it makes that user experience a bit better, makes it able so that you can show your domain out in public. Next integration is Login with Unstoppable. Login with Unstoppable is basically Web3 SSO. For users, it lets you sign in with your domain, permission your own data, and be able to take that identity with you wherever you'd be logging in, whether it be through kind of a traditional SSO or through a wallet connection. For applications, especially dApps, it's really powerful because it's a way to keep the wallet connection flow available, but also be able to do server-side authorization and authentication for your users and therefore build a custom experience for them. There's tons of dApps who have integrated this. One example is ApeSwap. So here on ApeSwap, you'll see I'll go to connect my wallet. In this case, Login with Unstoppable is another wallet connection option. So you see it pops up. I'm going to log in with one of my Web3 domains. This is telling me what information the dApp wants to request from me. And now I'm going to go ahead and authorize that. So I'm going to sign a transaction using the wallet that owns the domain. The app then gets back my information. And what they do with that is basically build a custom experience. As you can see, I'm signed in now with tyrannosaurusflex.nft, which is my Web3 domain here. Instead of seeing that wallet address, they're able to do that on the server side and build an experience for me. And last integration is our Partner API. Our Partner API is basically a registration API. This lets apps build custom e-commerce experiences for users so that they can search for, get the availability of domains, and go ahead and register those domains. Additionally, with this API, you can set wallet addresses on Mint. So instead of having to configure wallet addresses later and go ahead and set that all up, you can do that all on the go. So it gives a lot of power for users. One example of this in action is DeFi Trends. So if I search for just my name here, what you'll see is they're able to get a list of the domains, they're able to get the pricing for it. And if I want to go ahead and purchase it, I can purchase it here. I can also have it redirect to Unstoppable Domain's website if the point of sale wants to happen there instead. So now as a user, how do you manage your domain? Well, there's quite a few ways you can do this. The easiest way is through our website. We have a lot of these things available via API or smart contract calls, so more and more applications are building in native experiences for this. But just to give you a showcase, I'm going to use our website here, and I'm going to show you a few of the ways that you as a user can use your domain. So first, I'll take one of my domains here. We'll go into the management. Right off the bat, you can see I can set a bunch of profile information for myself. I can choose whether or not that data is private or public, so that will let me permission that the way I would like to permission it. I could set profile cover photos. I can link up an avatar. That can be both an NFT I own or it can be a JPEG that I upload. I can link my social handles. When we do this, we're actually using the APIs from the social media channel itself. So I could just enter my Twitter address or I could verify my Twitter address. That'll give apps varying levels of data that you'd like to share. I can create badges. That might be badges for achievements I've done on chain. It might be for NFTs I've held. There's quite a few things in the profile area. If I want to add a crypto address for resolution, it's quite simple. I could do it in here. You can see I have some set already. If I want to add something new, we have like 300 tokens that we support. Let's say I want to add Dogecoin. It's pretty simple. I'd go in here, I'd add Dogecoin, or I could add the DOG token if I want to as well. I'd enter in one of my Dogecoin addresses, simply confirm my changes. What that will do is I'll sign a transaction, then that'll write this data to the blockchain. In a similar way, I can set a website to resolve for this NFT. There's a few different ways I can do that. I could upload files directly in here, or I can pin something to like Pinata or wherever it might be, take that IPFS hash and link it right here. Same way, I'll confirm those changes. That will write it to the blockchain, and then you'll be able to view your website using browsers like Brave or any of the plugins that are out there. Same areas where I'd go to transfer the domain if I wanted to send it to someone else, if I want to sell it, if I want to bridge it to Ethereum mainnet, since this one's on Polygon. I can look at what apps I've logged into that I've given permission to access to some of my data. So you can see this was a demo app I built, and as a user in here, I could see that they have access to this email address and my wallet and my domain name. If I wanted to revoke access, I could simply do that from right here, and then my data is my own. And finally, there's our email service in here. So this is where I can set up an email forwarding system, so I can keep my personal email hidden, but share a masked email address that matches my NFT domain. That will work by communications, so I can send and receive. Additionally, with this, you can set up a third-party email app. So if I don't want to use just my Gmail address, I can use one of our integrations with Skiff email that will let me do decentralized end-to-end encrypted email, again, still while hiding my core email address itself with applications. So now let's dig real quickly into a little bit of the technical sides of our resolution and our login integrations. I'll keep it pretty high level, give you an idea of what one of the integration options look like. So let's start with resolution first. And resolution and reverse resolution are essentially the same thing. It's using the same integration method, just different input that you send to it. So I'll cover them both at the same time. So here you can see a demo web app I've built. Basically what this does is it just handles some input. So if I type in the name of a Web3 domain, it'll resolve it. I built this to show kind of the data you get from it. So you can see I can get back my profile picture, some of my owner data, single chain records, multi-chain records, IPFS hashes, and here's the raw response. So basically from your app, if you're using our API, you send it the name of the domain and you get back this JSON, and then you just pull whatever you want out of this JSON. So if you were trying to get a Solana address, you would just call that domain, you'd call it with the API, and you'd pull out this Solana address. How does that work under the hood? Well, it's pretty straightforward. This is all the code for that demo app I've built, but basically the whole main section is really just this. And again, as you're probably familiar with a API, it's pretty straightforward. We're just simply, I'll make this a little larger so it's easier to read. You're just calling our API endpoint with the bearer token, and then you're sending it the user's input, which in this case was the domain name, and then you're just getting the output from that and saving that as a JSON, and then you can do whatever you would like with that. Very straightforward. And on the reverse case, it's the same thing, except in that case, you would be typing in a wallet address. And reverse resolution will give you the primary domain. So there's only one domain that reverse resolves. Here, this is lordsvoldemort.nft. Same thing, you're using the same API and it'll get that back. And you can also get back other domains that that wallet owns. So here you can see why Lord Svoldemort's my primary domain, but I also own that it's jimbob.nft in the same one. Again, same API, same endpoint, really easy to integrate into your app, only a few lines of code. Now let's move on to login. Login is a slightly more complex user flow, but it's actually an even easier integration. So again, here's a demo web app I built. Basically what this is going to do is request a bunch of information and just display it on the app. Obviously what you would do with this would be something server-side to customize an experience for the user. So here I'll log in. I'm going to log in with this is jimbob.nft again. You can see here I've made a whole bunch of optional data points just to showcase this integration. So I'm going to share all of that with this app. I'm going to confirm and sign in. Now what you'll see is all of the data that I've decided to share in this case. You can see my domain name, wallet addresses, IPFS hash, profile info, email info, social handles, verified wallets, badges, you name it. So how does this look in the code? Again, it's very straightforward. We have a JavaScript library for this one. It's the uauth.js library. There is a function called login with popup. And what I've done is I linked that to that button press. So when you press that button, you call uauth login with popup. That handles all of that flow in that modal that popped up, all the MetaMask signing. And then simply what you get back from this is an authorization token. And that authorization token is a big JSON object that has all of those data points that you've requested from the user. And then you just handle that JSON however you would. So the entire login process with error handling and with setting a bunch of environment variables is about 10 lines of code here. Same thing for logout. That's the entire integration, super easy to do and able to work right into your app quite easily.